All right, in 3.2, we're looking at pretty much moving on to something new that's slightly different, but again, just as basic as it was yesterday. But before we move on to that two-step solving for the day, let's make sure we practice a couple fraction problems first. Remember that in these fraction problems, we will look at the denominator or the bottom number first. So again, 9 over 6w equals 36. Remember, again, what you've got to do with solving is you just got to make it habit. You've got to know that right when I see it, I look right at this 6 and I move this 6 first, which means that my 9 will move second. And again, here's the question. How do you move the 6? Well, again, how do we move the 6? If that's divided by 6, we would, sorry, my paper, there's like a microphone up there. Anyway, you would multiply both sides by 6 the way we showed it. The 6's would cancel. Again, what comes down is 9w equals whatever 36 times 6 is, which is 180 plus 36, which is 216. Then we divide by 9, because again, that's how we get rid of it when it says 9 times w. So divide by 9, and you end up with, I guess there's a line there too. W comes down with 9 goes into 21 2 times with 3 left over with 4 there. So there we go, w equals 24. But again, the key idea here, hopefully, again, if you're in the right spot, this should be hitting you at this in the part of your brain where you're saying, you know what, this is pretty easy, not the part that says, you know what, I don't believe that we're having to do all this crazy stuff. Because if you have been doing the work that you're supposed to in the chapter 2, which was just mastering that one step, you know, moving addition by subtraction, moving subtraction by addition, moving multiplication by division, moving division by multiplication, this again should be pretty simple, and for the most part, again, just an easy week and an easy A for you on a quiz. But either way, again, 3/4 p equals 15. Again, the first number we're always going to move just because we're learning habit. Remember, make things instinctual, make it so you don't have to think so much. And the second number I should move is the 3. So again, how do I move the 4 when it's divided by 4? Is I multiply both sides by 4. The 4's go away. 3p comes down. 4 times 1 is 4, or 4 times 10 is 40. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 and 40 make 60. And then when you divide by 3, again, 3 times p equals 60, so I need to divide by 3 on both sides. And that means that p comes down equaling 20. So again, it's not a bad situation for you to be in right now, again, especially if you moved or got the stuff that you were supposed to get in the last chapter. Now, if you're rushing through and you're worrying about just trying to finish the homework, I don't know if that's going to be the same effect. But if you've really taken this seriously, then it should be a pretty decent situation for you today. So again, today we're going to look at two-step equations where the number's been subtracted. Again, nothing really changes. That's why I said this should be an easy week if you did your work in chapter 2. But we'll move the subtracted value this time because, again, addition subtraction represents the same kind of number. So again, we're going to move this number. So what values are with s are 4, and remember you have to say negative 36. So what value should be moved first is the added number. Again, you're adding a negative 36 to it, so it's negative 36. What value should be moved second is the number attached to the variable, which is 4. That is the difference between today, is that, again, it's a negative number attached instead of a positive number attached, but that's still being added. You can add a negative, you can add a positive. So when we go to solve this, again, the first thing we want to do is move this minus 36. And off of our instincts and off of our practice, we've learned that we simply add 36 to both sides. That goes away. Again, make sure you bring down the whole 4s because the whole thing comes down. Equals, what's that, 52? And then we got 4 times s equals 52. So the way you move that 4 is by dividing by 4. And then s comes down with 4 goes into 5 once with 1 left over. 4 goes into 12 3 times. And again, those are your boxes that you will fill out. So if you're just jumping into this and haven't done anything else from chapter 2, I would suggest going back to chapter 2 first before coming to this, because again, this is a lot of stuff from chapter 2, and especially if you didn't do 2.1, which is pretty much the same thing except it has a plus sign instead of a minus sign. So again, I suggest that you catch up in order, not just try to jump in where we are as a class. So again, if you're jumping in and you haven't done chapter 2, I'm not saying chapter 1, but if you haven't done chapter 2, you're definitely going to have more issues with this if you don't know what's going on. And then one more, again, just the other type of problem where it's on the right side instead of the left. So again, what values are with P? I think we're good enough to start seeing that 3 and negative 34 are with P. What value should be moved first is the added value or subtracted value, so negative 34. What value should be moved second is the 3. Solve the equation using the proper steps. Again, here's the number I want to move. It's being subtracted, so I add 34. I add 34. That makes 45 equals 3p. Again, this is 3 times p, so I will divide by 3, divide by 3. 45 divided by 3 is 15. That goes away, and that's what's left over. So again, the trick to this section is to practice with focus on the sequence. We should have a decent grasp on how to move values at this point. Again, if you don't know how to move the value, that's chapter 2. So go back to chapter 2.1 and go through those exercises. But hopefully after you know how to move the values, now you need to know when to move them. Because again, the way I'm teaching you is what I call the checkpoint, which pretty much means that once you get to this point, and once you can pass this test coming up, the quiz coming up into this week, then you're ready to solve just about anything. Because what you'll find out, as I'll show you real fast, is that anytime you see a problem like this, which looks like it's complex, you'll do what you've been trained to do. The first thing we were trained to do is to distribute. Right? So 3 times 2x, 6x, 3 times 1, 3. And the second thing we learned to do is combine like terms. That was in chapter 1. 3 and 5 make 8. And what does this look like? Well, it looks just like the questions that we just did. So again, everything for the most part that you're going to solve in all of algebra, everything, and I do mean everything. I've been doing this for 20 years. Everything you're going to solve breaks down to look something like one of those equations where it's either on the left side or the right side. Now there are some tricky ones, and that's the ones where you have to kind of practice when they pop up and adjust your thinking. But the key thing to know is, as long as you get this part down, you should get at least a B on every single solving test for the rest of your life once you get this down. Because again, as long as you can get to that point, everything else is good. So just be sure to ask questions when you need to. Again, make sure you show me the work in your question. Don't just complain and say you don't get it. Nobody gets it the first time until they actually try it out. But again, good luck with that, and let me know how it goes.